Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show. I haven't done a ranking video in a while, and this one's going to be a little bit different. So recently I read a Tom Petty book that he was interviewed in, and he said the hardest thing to do is write a short, 3-minute, perfect, like, pop rock song. And I wouldn't argue with that, but it's also really tough to write a great, long, epic track, and that's what we're going to be focusing on tonight. 14 of my favorite long rock songs, or popular music songs, I should say. But here's the catch. They got to be at least 14 minutes long. Why did I pick 14 minutes? Because there's hundreds of songs over 10 minutes and 11 minutes. You get to the 14-minute range, it starts getting a little bit more manageable. So here we go. 14 of my favorite long, epic rock songs, pretty much all rock songs. They have to be at least over 14 minutes long. Before I do it, please hit subscribe and hit like if you're new to my channel. It'll help my channel to grow. I greatly appreciate it. So when people do searches, they may actually eventually find me, and that would be a good thing, at least for me, and I hope for you too. All right, let's keep going. We're going to start at number 14. Now, this is really not an album that I love from beginning to end, but I'm picking it because it is kind of revolutionary. Richard Branson obviously must love it because it put Virgin Records on the map. And we're talking about the classic Mike Oldfield album, Tubular Bells. It's one song, and it's two sides, and it is like 49 minutes long. I don't really find the whole thing totally engaging, but it certainly hit the mark when The Exorcist used the main theme as the theme song for The Exorcist, and that is one of my favorite movies, and it certainly is timeless and scary to this day. So anyway, revolutionary album, Mike Oldfield. The amount of overdubbing he did, pretty much a one-man show, pretty extraordinary. Michael Oldfield, Tubular Bells at number 14. At number 13 may shock everybody, and it's the only one that really stands out from the crowd. I'm not a huge guy who's into rap, but even I thought the Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight, was a really, really cool track when it came out. And this is a compilation CD of some early rap tracks, and you will find on this Sugar Hill Gang's Rapper's Delight, which is over 14 minutes long. That's a really cool track, and very unusual for me to list something like that, but a little bit out of the box. Let's keep going, shall we? We are up to number 12. And this is a great album. I am a sucker when rock and roll plays with a symphony orchestra. When it works together, it's an incredible experience. This is a great album by a really good progressive band called Caravan. And this was a live album they did called Caravan and the New Symphonia. And this was a nice deluxe kind of reissue of it on CD with extra tracks. And on this, you see there's a song called For Richard. It's a really good Caravan track. They're a progressive band, but they're kind of melodic. They're kind of soft in a way. Excellent musicianship, but they're easy on the ears, a little bit quirky lyrically. And this song For Richard, which is 15 minutes long, a lot of it is just an extended jam. But when I'm in the mood, it works really well, and it's got the symphony on there as well. So if you never heard of Caravan, definitely check them out. You may want to check out some of their shorter tracks first. And if you like them, yeah, you might want to give For Richard a shot. That is my number 12. Number 11, well, I could have went either way. Emerson, Lake and Palmer. That's a cool version on CD where it actually, the graphics move. And we're talking about from the album Brain Salad Surgery, the classic Carnival 9. There you go. First impression part 1, first impression part 2, second impression, third impression. Welcome back, my friend, to the show that never ends. It's a classic. I'm also a really big fan of the title track of Tarkus. That's an epic also. That's over 20 minutes long. I could have easily went with that as well. But I think at the end of the day, I would go with Carnival 9. So that one from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Next up, one of my all-time favorite bands. I've done videos on their huge box set over there. And there's a lot of different live versions of their classic from their first album called Phoenix. That could be an epic. It goes anywhere from 10 minutes to 18 minutes, I've heard versions, or 16 minutes. Phoenix, a real epic show closer typically for Wishbone Ash. A lot of jamming on there. A lot of people have said, critics have said, well, that's kind of their version of Freebird, even though it was way before Freebird. I guess I kind of get what they're saying because it's got like this good dual guitar jamming going on in there. But it's a cool track. Phoenix from Wishbone Ash. So what do we got? 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. Let's keep going. At number 9, lots of different versions of this one. The classic instrumental In Memory of Elizabeth Reed. It's on Fillmore East. A little bit of a cheat on this one. And Fillmore East, it's a little over 13 minutes. But it's another track that lots of different versions I have, and many over 14 minutes long. The great instrumental, probably my favorite instrumental from the Allman Brothers, In Memory of Elizabeth Reed. Let's keep going. Maybe a lot of people wouldn't think of this one, but I've done videos on why Frampton Comes Alive is the greatest live album ever made. Snicker all you want, check out my video. I think you'll wind up agreeing at the end. But you got the classic last song on the album. Woke up this morning with a wine glass in my hand. Whose wine? What wine? Where the hell did I dine? We're talking about Do You Feel Like We Do? Again, another live extended jam that goes on, but really is kind of a fun track. And then if you get the deluxe edition, you realize that Do You Feel Like We Do is actually not the last song that he would perform. That was always Jumpin' Jack Flash, but they reconfigured it for the regular album. Do You Feel Like We Do from Peter Frampton. What do we got? 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. We're up to number 7. Number 7 for me would be Jethro Tull's legendary album, Thick as a Brick. This is the original vinyl. Love the packaging. But Thick as a Brick is one track, as you know, that's like 40-something minutes long. It's not always an easy listen, but it is definitely a work of progressive art. It's Jethro Tull progressive rock at their best. After that, they did A Passion Play, which is also one song with a little break in the middle with the story of the hare who lost his spectacles for some comedic break. But certainly A Passion Play is a much more difficult listen, a more dissonant listen, where Thick as a Brick is a bit more melodic, got some more flute as opposed to saxophone. I definitely prefer Thick as a Brick, and no doubt that is a classic. Over the years, to be honest with you, I love that when Tull plays live, and there's actually a version on the Thick as a Brick, remastered edition. When the Tull plays Thick as a Brick, they do like a 10-minute consolidation of the 40 minutes, and that's an easier listen, and it's wonderful. So, Thick as a Brick from Jethro Tull. Let's keep going. We're going to hit number 6, I think it is. And Pink Floyd has a number of great extended tracks. The first one that I fell in love with was Echoes from the album Metal. I remember laying in bed and listening to Alison Steele, I think it was. They were doing like a BBC live concert from 1971 of Pink Floyd on the Metal tour, and they did Echoes, and I was listening through headphones, and I was recording it on 8-track, and I was blown away. And it's spooky, and it's scary, yet melodic. And a song, which Pink Floyd, was more noisy. At that point in their career, they were really switching to more songs. Echoes is great. After that, another track, would be Wish You Were Here. Shine On You Crazy Diamond from the Wish You Were Here album, of course. The problem with Shine On You Crazy Diamond is that it's the majority of the album, but it's broken into multiple parts too, especially the beginning of the album and the ending of the album. It's a magnificent track, Shine On You Crazy Diamond, from a perfect album. But the one that I would go to, my go-to Floyd album is Animals, and I love Dogs, which is basically all of side 1 with the intro of Pigs on the Wing. Dogs is amazing. I think it's an incredible track, and that would be my choice. I think we're at like number 6. Yeah, number 6, Pink Floyd Dogs from Animals. But there's a lot of Floyd that could be a possibility. Number 5, well, we are going to go with one of my favorite bands, Dire Straits, and Their fourth studio record was Love Over Gold, and it definitely had some progressive edges to it. And the highlight for me on this album, for sure, is the monster song called Telegraph Road. It's an amazing track. I call it Dire Straits going progressive rock. It's melodic. It's got great guitar work. It's atmospheric. It's phenomenal. And there's a great live version on the Alchemy album. So Telegraph Road for me at number 5. I think it's 5. Dire Straits, Telegraph Road. Let's keep going at number 4. That would be maybe a surprise to some people. But the Grateful Dead, I don't know if I'd call myself a Deadhead, but I have all their albums. But certainly, I really got into the Dead big time in 1977 when this album came out, Terrapin Station. I think it's a great album then. I think it's a great album now. I saw them on that tour. And the highlight of this album is side 2 of the original vinyl, which is Terrapin Station. It's the whole side. I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's one of the Dead's best pieces of work. It's a go-to album and a go-to song for me. The Grateful Dead, Terrapin Station. 3, 2. We're up to number 3. And another band, kind of like Pink Floyd, that's got a ton of extended songs is Yes. Some of their best ones, well, they got a whole album that's extended songs, which is Tales from Topographic Oceans. Of course, it's a double album originally on vinyl, 4 tracks, and each track is its own side. Each song way longer than 14 minutes. Topographic Oceans is a great album if you like Yes, that atmospheric extended Yes. I think Topographic Oceans is great, but I've said it in other videos. You got to be in the mood for that. I can't just put that on at any point. But that's a great album. An unbelievable Yes album I think is underrated is Going for the One. It was the album they put out in 77, same year as Terrapin Station. Rick Wakeman came back to the band. I think this is a perfect studio record. And there's a track on there called Awaken, which is a masterpiece by Yes. And that is also an extended track. They have others, but if I was going to go with one, my number 3 favorite extended track over 14 minutes of all time is Close to the Edge. What can you say? It's a perfect album. It's only got 3 songs on the album. They're all extended and they're all amazing. Close to the Edge, and You and I, and Siberian Khatru. But Close to the Edge is a masterpiece. It's the whole side. They piece it together from all different sections, but listening to it, it flows as if it's one magnificent piece that was written that way. It's a classic, absolutely. And there's a great, great live version on the Yes Songs album. I think they do it phenomenal with Alan White, I believe, is the drummer on that version as well. So, Close to the Edge from Yes at number 3. At number 2 is this. Renaissance, the band, and the title track of Scheherazade, the Song of Scheherazade. It's 24 minutes long. It is a fucking miracle of music making. It's the Renaissance with a symphony orchestra. It's so off the chart, incredible. Here's a story. I was driving with my wife and my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law was not into music, but we had an extended trip, and I made a tape like I used to do, mixtape of stuff that I thought maybe she would enjoy. I put C'est La Vie from Emerson, Lake and Palmer on there with the orchestra, and I put the 24 minutes of Song from Scheherazade on there. And she listened to it, and when it ended, she said, "Alan, what the hell was that? That was incredible." And it is. Renaissance with Annie Haslam, the greatest female vocalist in the history of rock. Nobody has a voice range like her. It's magnificent. But it's interesting because the bass player, John Camp, sings a lot of certainly the beginning of the beginning sections of the song. He sings lead, which is kind of shocking when you have somebody like Annie Haslam in the band. But he sings it really well, and it works perfectly on that song. He sings, she comes in on the choruses, on top of him at a higher vocal range. The music is beyond perfection. The symphony orchestra is amazing. The middle section called The Young Prince and the Princess and he sings alone. It's mind-bogglingly how great it is. And then, like any epic, at the end, it all comes together with the symphony orchestra. Scheherazade, the trumpets come in. I see God. That's how great this is. If you're not familiar with Renaissance, there's tons of great stuff. But you have to give it, you sit in a chair, put it on your stereo, if you have a stereo, play it loud, and sit there for 24 minutes and keep your eyes closed and sit back and absorb it. It'll take you on a journey, and you'll thank me. Song for Scheherazade from Renaissance, the title track of this album, is my number 2 all-time favorite epic long rock song over 14 minutes, which leaves one left. And what would that be? Well, no doubt. It's not No Doubt, by the way. Oh, by the way, Renaissance is a great live version on Live at Carnegie Hall. It's just as good as the studio version. Check that one out. Let's go back to my number 1. There's no doubt for me what it's going to be. It's Genesis. I've done a bunch of videos on Genesis. I was lucky enough to get into Genesis before most people in the United States. This album came out in 1972. I got it in 1973. Nobody heard of Genesis at that time. I was swearing all about them, telling all my friends this band Genesis, and nobody ever heard of them for maybe 3 years later. But here's Foxtrot, the original first pressing on vinyl. And the whole second side, of course, is Supper's Ready, and that would be my all-time favorite epic. Kind of like Scheherazade. There's lots of different sections, movements, changes all over the place, and at the end, you see God. And the opening is pretty amazing, too, with the Guaranteed Eternal Sanctuary, man. Oh, unbelievable. Unbelievable masterpiece from Genesis. Supper's Ready. My number 1. I will tell you there's a great live version of it where Phil Collins did it, singing it, and that's on the Seconds Out album. It's also amazing. So there you have it. My top 14 of all-time long rock songs over 14 minutes. What were they? Mike Oldfield, Tubular Bells, Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight, Caravan for Richard, Carnival 9 from ELP, Wishbone Ash Phoenix, the Allman Brothers in the memory of Elizabeth Reed, Peter Frampton, Do You Feel Like We Do, Jethro Tull with Thick as a Brick, Pink Floyd with Dogs, Grateful Dead, Terrapin Station, Dire Straits, Telegraph Road, Renaissance, a song of Scheherazade. Actually, that was number 2. Yes, Close to the Edge, which was my number 3, and my number 1, Genesis, Supper's Ready. There's one other one that's a questionable one. If you don't know Nectar, this is one of the greatest albums of all time, progressive rock or not. It's called Remember the Future. It's one of my go-to all-time favorite albums by anybody. And the question is Remember the Future one song or not? It really is Remember the Future Part 1 and 2, but there's a lot of sub-songs underneath it. So, I don't know. Debatable. If this is considered one song, this would be way, way at the top of my list. Probably like around number 4. But let me know what you think. Do you know Remember the Future? Is it one song or is it all those little sub-tracks? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Please hit subscribe. Write me some notes. I love the communication. I have some people who watch me fairly regularly, and they always contribute, and it's great. We go back and forth, and it's kind of fun, because this is just my opinion. Everybody's got their own ears, and I'm no better than anybody else, but I certainly have a lot to base it on because of my listening and collection. So let me know what you think. But remember, 14 minutes or longer. That was what I based this criterion on. Thanks so much. Again, hit subscribe, hit some notes, and most importantly, stay safe, stay healthy out there. Keep rocking, and I will see you on my next video, hopefully. Take care.